Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We're going to be talking about wild horse management today, and it's a very interesting subject. William E. Simpson II has been living among and studying a herd of wild feral horses in the wilderness on the California side of the Oregon-California border. Simpson is the founder and executive director of the Wild Horse Fire Brigade, LLC, a wild horse advocacy and management group. In March 2022, Siskiyou County officially recognized the ownership of the local herd of cultural heritage horses, as well as management authority over the local herd. So Siskiyou County is doing amazing things. They're doing really good stuff with the the voting process. I've had some of their people on talking about that. And here you are doing what I think everyone should be paying attention to, having wild feral horses graze the land so we don't have these crazy fires. Thanks for coming on, William.
Hey, thank you for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, I was looking at some of your videos. We'll play a few of them, just for reference. There was like back in the 90s, $700 million worth of damage from wildfires. And just recently, 7 billion. And we need to come up with some solutions.
Well, it's really worse than that, Mike. The UCLA study, which has been sequestered by who knows who, somebody in the government doesn't want people to see this. An 11-year study by UCLA, 11-year study, UCLA, said that during their study, 5,000 Californians a year died prematurely from wildfire smoke. And over the 11 years, the economic damage was $435 billion. Now, anybody can find it. You just Google UCLA death toll wildfire smoke, and you'll find that study. It's shocking. So and that was just California. So I dropped it into a supercomputer and I said, please extrapolate this data across the Western United States, right? Because we're all suffering from catastrophic fire and the deadly smoke. Well, the supercomputer did the math, and it said that based on the UCLA data, and this is UCLA, this isn't some Mickey Mouse University somewhere in Romania. They said that the supercomputer said that we're looking at 36,000 Americans dead prematurely in the Western U.S. alone. 36,000 dead prematurely, men, women, children, nurses, doctors, pilots. Doesn't matter where you are. You could be 100 miles away from the fire. You breathe the smoke, you die. And then the damage from that is $218 billion a year. And so the structural damages that you just cited, that the insurance companies, and those were insured coverages, are just the beginning of what this is costing us. You look at the lives, American lives. And then the computer told me also that it cannot correlate or calculate the comorbidities created by the toxins in the wildfire smoke. So what's happening is we have a collapsed herbivory in California. The deer and the elk are really way down. We're down, some people say 1.5, maybe 2 million deer in California that are no longer here, that were here 20, 30 years ago. Now, what that means is we've got about 3 million tons of annual grass and brush that's no longer grazed in remote areas where you can't have livestock. I mean, we have all these remote areas and they're loaded with wolves, lions, bears. Where I live, I have wolves, lions, bears, they eat horses, trust me. And they eat the deer and the elk. So when you're in a position where you have that many million tons of wildfire, or wildfire fuel, I should say, we're talking 3 million tons just in California. What do you do about all that? I mean, you can't put livestock everywhere because, hey, when I was a rancher growing up, I didn't want the predators eating my lambs and my calves because we couldn't pay the mortgage. Our family was poor. And so I had to ride around and shoot predators just so that we can make mortgage payments. And that was back in the 60s. I'm older now. So I'm 73 now. So I've lived a few lives. And so we're looking at California, and this collapsed herbivory is why we have the fire. It's not climate change. Climate does have an impact on the fuel. What it does is it dries it out sooner, it keeps it dry longer, and any source of ignition is what sets it off. And of course, we can't control human behavior or the hand of God, lightning, anything. We can't control the fuel. And the way we do that is the U.S. government now has the equivalent of FEMA camps or state-based gitmos for these wild horses. They round them up, they brand them, they sterilize them, and then they put them in off-range holding back in Oklahoma and Ohio and Indiana on failed cattle ranches that graze their ground to the dirt. All you have to have is a fence, and you can get a BLM contract to hold them. So they put them in these contract holding facilities or prisons for horses, basically, and then they charge all of us $150 million a year to feed them. So it's like putting the fire department in jail during fire season and then having taxpayers pay for DoorDash or something. It's like, what? And it's ridiculous. And so our plan is simple. Wild Horse Fire Brigade. We take the horses out of government holding. They're all sterilized, put them into the deep wilderness where they're not going to be in conflict with other economic interests on public land. I mean, let's face it, we got to have gas, minerals, and oil. Other we're not, how do you make America great again without materials, right? And we need livestock. Everybody likes to eat. 97% of Americans eat meat. That's the fact. So we need livestock. So our plan actually creates more grazing. We take the horses out of holding, put them in the wilderness. They mow that down and keep it clean. Yeah, they get eaten by the lions and the bears and everything. But guess what? The modern horse that we see, been here 2 million years. That's been going on a long time, and that's why they're still here. Natural selection. It's kind of like the Navy SEALs. The weak ring out. The tough guys go forward. And the bottom line is what we see today, those are the guys who we're in. They're operators. And I don't want to see them in jail out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I know in your area, they, some ranches like went under and they just let the horses go into the field, and they got wild that way. But you guys are like raising them. You're taking them from different sources. Now, why are the deer in such a decline? What's going on with that?
Well, let me just make a small correction here, Mike. First of all, our herd was seen in 1580 by Sir Francis Drake. The ancestors of our herd are post-Ice Age survivors. Okay, they didn't go extinct. That's not true. They were seen by Drake. He was a military officer, serving British Knight. Queen Elizabeth sent him up to the Pacific Northwest because she wanted this area. And so when they got to the Klamath River, there was a lot of gold in the Klamath River back then. There's a lot of gold in the Rogue River, and they spotted that and they go, aha, the indigenous must have golden idols. So because that's what everybody found on the East Coast, right? I mean, the Spaniards were running into all these indigenous, all this golden gems. So they went up the rivers, and lo and behold, Drake's team saw horses living with the indigenous in 1580. Now, that's just 88 years after Columbus first saw America. So there was no way any of them horses they brought to the East Coast made it all the way out here in 88 years. Impossible. So our herd, there is a combination, and feral is a term that's misunderstood by the public, Mike. So I'm going to make a quick explanation of feral. So feral, there's two kinds of feral. If I have a pet cat and then I just let it go loose and I move away, and that's a feralized cat then. But feral, in terms of horse management, has a whole different, it's a jurisdictional terminology. And so when a wild horse is standing on one of the herd management areas that President Nixon created, walks off of that area onto somebody else's property, depending on whose property they're standing on, they could either be unauthorized livestock, okay, that's another term, or they can be feral horses. And what that means, feral horse means without ownership. It has nothing to do with their genetics. See, and that's where people get it all confused. Yeah, certainly the cavalry let some horses go in this area. Fort Jones had cavalry, and they were, dealing with the Native Americans here at that time. But our herd, we see phenotypes that we know are ancient horse phenotypes. So saying that. So going back to your question, can you hit me with that one more time, Mike?
Yeah, that's a great explanation about, how they're, they've been here for millions of years, really. That's pretty incredible. And so deer, why are we losing the deer?
What's going on? That was it. Thank you. So in the West Coast, people like hunting. I used to hunt all the time. I had to hang up my rifles because I found out that in California, we're down about 1.5 million deer, roughly. It's so bad that California Fish and Wildlife really don't even do a real census anymore. Now, it's an aggregate of things that are putting pressure on the herds. It's hunting, over harvesting. It's vehicular accidents because we have more roads and there's dead deer all over the place. And we also have problems with poaching and disease. So the aggregate of these things are really, and then these wildfires are killing a lot of herbivores, deer and elk too. So there's a phenomenal amount of pressure and the herds are collapsed. And then when you have, of course, predators, those guys are bad boys. They're tough operators, and predators, wolves, lions, bears, they don't go away so easy, and they're going to find a meal. So when you collapse you take all the food out of their refrigerator, guess what? They're coming to your house for dinner, and they're going to come down into the valleys. And they're going to find livestock to eat and all that other stuff that's there. So when you don't have enough prey animals, you skew the relationship. The prey predator relationship changes, and it actually creates increased unnatural pressure on the herbivores, the deer and the elk and the horses. So having the BLM run around out here and the U.S. Forest Service rounding up the last big herbivores, which, by the way, are the most beneficial herbivores. Wild horses are the most beneficial herbivore because deer, elk, cows, sheep, and goats are ruminants. And a ruminant has a multi-chambered stomach, right? So when they eat seeded grasses and plants, the food goes down the first chamber, and then they go lay down, they ruminate, they burp up the cud, and they chew it over and over again. Well, that kills all the seeds. It crushes them. It's a mechanical damage issue. And then when they go through the rest of their digestive tract, the seeds that come out in their poop really don't grow. Very few seeds grow in the poop of herbivores. And that's cows, sheep, goats, deer, and elk. Now, a horse has a stomach like us, and they're really bad digesters. So when you look at horse poop, and I do this, we study, horse manure, because you open it up and it looks like you can see branches and leaves intact. You can see seeds. And so Oregon State, where I went to school, I was a pre-med science major, they did a study. It's called the germinability of horse dung. And they found, and I think they fed the horses like 230 different kinds of seeds. And they found out that roughly 90% of the seeds come out in their poop and grow. So wild horses are farmers. They actually walk around and they plant more seeds than they need the following year for themselves. So guess who benefits? The deer, the elk, all the other critters that eat any kind of grass or brush, and then even the butterflies and the bees, because they need flowering plants, right?
God.
So the horses.
That's another question I was going to ask you. Why not, have sheep so now I see. I remember one of the videos where they were saying that, around the trees and so forth, they're knocking off the low branches. That helps with the fire problem. And they poop around them, and the trees, become more luscious and, very fertile. So it's a win-win situation with the horses. God, we got to do this. It's like crazy. It's so easy.
Well, we did something that nobody in the world has done, Mike. We watched what happened. Our horses grazed in a huge area up here, big fire breaks, low fuel areas. And when we had a big fire, it's called the Klamathon fire, burned the town of Hornbrook to the ground, 38,000 acre wind-blown monster. So I was the local knowledge advisor because we had guys up here from Fresno, 600 miles away that, it was a bad year at 2018. Fire guys were all over the place. So we got Fresno and a guy from down by you, in fact, National Park Service, Yosemite. The fire commander from there came up. His name was Randall. And they were actually up here looking at a map in the wilderness. Everybody was evacuated. I walked down to see how the fire was coming over the ridge, and I ran into them, the two pickup trucks with the tailgates down on a map. I kind of scared them a little bit. I walked up behind them and they go, "Oh, what are you here? You're supposed to be evacuated." And I go, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I grew up in these mountains. I know how to fight fire. I logged. I'm not worried about it." And they go, "Oh, you live here?" And I go, "Yeah." They said, "Well, show us where we are on this map." And they were just lost. And I looked at the map and it wasn't their fault. The people that gave them the map, it had a bunch of fancy logos across the whole bottom, U.S. Forest, BLM, OES, Siskiyou County, Sheriff, this, that. And I look at the map and I go, "Well, you're not even on the map." And they go, "What?" I go, "Yeah, you're below the logos here. The map starts at the Oregon border. It's 3 miles to the north." And they go, "Oh my goodness." And then I'm looking at the map and I says, "By the way, this map is not good." And they go, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, there's a bunch of logging roads up here for you guys to need to know about. If you want to fight this fire, you're going to need to infill a bunch of equipment and men. And if you don't know where the roads are, you're in trouble. There's no roads on your map that are up here. And there's ranches up here that aren't even depicted." They go, "What?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm serious." And they say, "Oh, well, we got to get up there and prep them for fire. You're going to have to be our local knowledge advisor." So I said, fine, I'll volunteer. Let's go. Let's stop this fire. Because I also knew where the fire breaks were created by the horses. So I was on the fire line 9 days, and I got lung damage, and the smoke killed my wife. So the toxins that killed them 5,000 people that same year, 5,000 other Californians died. She was one of them. And it's toxins in the smoke. It isn't PM 2.5. There's new science that just came out December of 25 from the American Chemical Society. There's VOCs that they didn't know were in the smoke. 21% more VOCs, which are toxic organic compounds. And so anyway, I was on the line 9 days. I watched that fire get to the low fuel areas that the horses created. That's where we put it out. When we saved a college town called Ashland, Oregon, and we saved the whole old growth forest up here. So hopefully we'll have sustainable timber harvest in the future. I'd like to see logging come back, but because the timber industry is important in the Pacific Northwest. And if we're burning the forest to the ground, nobody's going to get, it doesn't help anybody. And so we stopped it. And here's the funny thing, Mike. 2 months before that fire, Colorado College came down and did a graduate thesis film on my research. And I was filming right up there in one of the fire breaks over my shoulder, the horses grazing down this huge area, 1,000-acre area. And everything I said in that film 2 months before the fire came true 2 months later during the actual fire. So nobody can argue with me anymore about this. So unfortunately, though, I'm being suppressed. People don't want to hear about it because they think I'm going to break people's rice bowls because so much money is being made in firefighting now.
Yeah.
I mean, our town houses firefighters, hotels, restaurants, and all that. And I'm going, okay, guys, look, I get it. You're making money, but you're killing 5,000 Americans with this smoke in our state every year. We've got to get into a prevention mode, not a firefighting mode. That's too late.
Yeah, they need to transition into managing the land. And then we won't have these crazy fires and people dying. Wow, I'm sorry to hear about your wife, William. That's crazy. That's very sad. So you're a direct, unfortunate victim of this unland management that's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I paid a price. We paid a heavy price for the knowledge we have today. I mean, but we have knowledge now that nobody else has. With my own eyes. The other thing that was blown me away, Mike, is the horses aren't afraid of fire. These wild horses, here comes the fire. They're like, 75 yards away from the oncoming flames. They're just grazing. I got a picture of it. I've been putting it in my article. These guys are just head down grazing. And I got to thinking about that. I'm going, they're first of all, we have horse fossils up here. So they're grazing over the bones of their ancestors, right?
Yeah.
What could be more natural than that? And then on top of it, when they're grazing, they're still managing the fuel right in front of the fire. They'd occasionally look up and then look down, but they were here 1 million years ago when Mount Shasta was erupting. They were here when Tahoe was erupting. They were here when Crater Lake was erupting. They've seen lava. Their ancestors have seen lava. And so, they're not like the horses the Spaniards reintroduced. By the way, those are made in America. The horses that the Europeans brought back, those were made in America. They crossed over Beringia 1 million years ago. All horses in the world originally evolved right here in North America 55 million years ago.
Wow.
And then the most successful line was Equus caballus, the modern horse we all see today. Well, 1 million years ago, when the landmass between Alaska and Siberia connected them together, some of our horses went across into Eurasia. And then over that next 1 million years that they were in Eurasia, they evolved into subspecies. That's how we got zebras, Polsky horses, Konik horses, all these different horses with different characteristics. They had a chance to evolve in that new land. But in the meantime, they were still here, right? And then about 220,000 years ago, deer, elk, and bison came from Asia into North America. They're Asian immigrants. And so, when people talk about when President Nixon signed the 1971 Free Roaming Wild Horse and Burro Protection Act, he was honoring American heritage. We built America off their backs. We fought wars off our horses' backs. We owe them. Morally, we should salute them every year because there would be no civilization. There would be no America. There was no eagle and buggy, right, Mike?
Yeah,
There was no eagle and buggy. It was horse and buggy. And,
absolutely.
so we've got to, are we Americans or what? We need to have a little bit of moral fiber and show a little loyalty to the animals that supported our livelihoods.
Very good, William. Let's watch a little clip that you gave me and get a little bit deeper insight, and we'll discuss.
This for Invest TV. The California nonprofit Wild Horse Fire Brigade hopes to drive down those losses and mitigate catastrophic wildfires with its natural wildfire abatement and forest protection plan that relies on the help of an unlikely resource.
Wildfires require 3 key ingredients: oxygen, fuel, and an ignition source. Wind does not fuel a fire. Fuel fuels the fire. In this case, we're talking about grass and brush. We cannot change the oxygen content of the air, nor can we control ignition sources such as lightning or human behavior. The one thing we can control are annually occurring grass and brush fuels using animals such as wild horses that eat grass and brush, also known as herbivores. In the Western United States, we have a very well-known collapse of the herbivore. We may be down as many as 3 million deer in California, and Oregon is down approximately 500,000 deer. When you have a collapse of the herbivory, catastrophic wildfire evolves. By reestablishing the herbivory, what we do is we start reducing these fuels and we devolve catastrophic fires.
Being able to do vegetation control targeted on ground fuels, both at the individual property level and at the community level, is the #1 driver for decreasing risk.
These big, robust animals, weighing 1,000 to 1,200 pounds, rub up against low-hanging limbs. They call those fire ladders. They break them off. And so basically the tree is removed of all the low limbs, and they remove the grass under the tree because they're there under the tree resting, so they graze the grass, and they fertilize the tree with their droppings. So these trees are made fire resilient. Today in the United States, we have 60,000 American wild horses that have been captured off the wilderness and put into taxpayer-funded government holding, and we're feeding them the grass instead of leaving them where they're going to do some good for societies. Each wild horse will eat about 30 pounds of grass and brush a day, about 5.5 tons a year.
In the last 5 years, from the insurance industry perspective, the losses have not only doubled and tripled, but they're 10, 20, 50-fold as high as they used to be. It used to average $700 million a year in losses. In the 90s, now the insurance industry pays on average $7 billion.
These wildfires.
Yeah, and a lot more from what you're saying, William. So that's
It's a lot.
what you're saying. 10 times more again, and 100 times more. Jesus.
Well, the cost in human blood. I mean, the Americans that are dying, these are little kids, little baby boys and girls that are a couple years old. They breathe this in, and then they develop a comorbidity and die when they're 20 or 30, and they can't. The computer said it couldn't even compute that. And we just know like on my wife's death certificate, it says autoimmune neurodegenerative disease from wildfire smoke. Now we know about those people, but also the computer said we can't even begin to calculate the losses that come 5-10 years later from people who develop a comorbidity and don't die immediately. The human treasure. I mean, we're losing our families, our friends, people, pilots, nurses, people like you doing important work like this. We're losing them. They just die. I mean, that has to stop. I don't care how much money these guys make fighting fire. They have to go flip burgers if they need to, but we can't be killing Americans so a small group of people can make money. That's got to end.
Yeah, I totally agree. And let me share that that one Horse of Nature award-winning documentary about how wild horses mitigate wildfire. So this is really good. A little bit of your information in here. So.
This fire broke out yesterday afternoon, the day after Independence Day. All
right, little download problem there, but yeah, goes on and talks about, how this is very tragic indeed.
It is.
So that's one of those things that, you have had experience with, unfortunately, and you are, warning all of us right now. It's every year it seems to get worse. I know in California, we're the only state right now, in California, the first time in 25 years that we don't have drought anywhere in California. And I promise you, there'll be fires this year. There'll be big fires.
Oh yeah.
Supposed to get another round of snow to help, but it's the way it works here in California. It's like there's this group that seems to be maybe even making these fires happen. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like I said, we can't control that. We, like Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations, don't worry about the things you can't change. Don't worry about the things you can. And we can control fuel. And nature does it best. She does it, these herbivores, like up here where I am, my herd of horses, I'm not worried about my place burning because I've got what I call a defensible landscape. A defensible space that the Cal Fire tries to sell you on is useless. You could go out 100 feet, but when you have a hillside full of grass and brush next to you, the heat front from that fire with a wind on it is going to incinerate your house from 200-300 feet away. The flames don't even need to get there. The heat front will just cause things to combust. Now, I fought fire when I was a logger, and we never saw molten aluminum on the fire scenes. You never seen a molten aluminum ladder, molten aluminum engine blocks or mags. Today, these fires are so hot as a function of fuel. When your cabin gets cold, what do? You put more fuel in, it makes more energy, more heat. When you have all this grass and brush that's not mowed down in the wilderness, the heat is abnormal. It is abnormal. Fire resilient trees, entire forests of trees that need fire. And we do need normal fire. I don't want to misinform anybody here. Normal fire is important for a forest, but it doesn't destroy the forest. It burns low and slow into the trees, cleans the understory of the forest. It helps the reproductive cycle of the conifers because it opens cones and does things. So the bottom line is when you lose your herbivory that's managing the understory fuels in a forest, it burns abnormally hot. And we've seen this time and time again, an entire fire-evolved forest, trees that need fire, dead, burned to the dirt. And that's an indication something is seriously wrong. And what it is the collapsed herbivory. And I'm not saying Wild Horse Fire Brigade is a silver bullet here, Mike. What I'm saying is it's a baby step to a successful repopulation of herbivores. We got 70,000 lawnmowers, and I'm being stingy. I want 70,000 for California. I mean, I get it. Everybody's dying in Washington, Oregon, in Idaho, and Montana. Same problem. But, we got to put these horses somewhere, and California is getting hammered by these fires. People are being dead. If we put these horses here, we can do that right now. And guess what? We save 150 million a year. Trump should be all over the top of this, but the gatekeepers are keeping me out right now. I'm fighting with the corrupt agencies that they like the flow of cash the way it is. A lot of guys are getting envelopes full of money. These horses, how do American wild horses with brands on their neck, you can't mistake them. How are they ending up going to Mexico and being put in the meat grinder? Those are American assets. That's conversion. That's a federal crime, but people are, the payola, this has got to stop. So we could put them out here and we will see a dent in these fires. These guys will put a dent. Now, it's not the silver bullet. We still have to do something about deer and elk. And that's easy because guess what, Mike? In 1910, California issued a moratorium on deer hunting because the gold miners out here, they didn't want to leave their claims. They were shooting all the game animals around their claims. And so we had a collapse in 1910. We went from 3 million deer in California to 500,000 deer in 1910. Well, the California government says, all right, that's it. No hunting. Starting 1910, no hunting. No more deer hunting. It took, I think it was like 10, 15 years. They brought the herd back up to 3 million, and then they let them hunt again. Well, guess what? Today, we're below 400,000. We're even lower than the threshold that triggered it last time at 500. So 500K was the trigger in 1910. Now we're below 400. We're not doing anything. And there's more pressure on the herds than there ever was before. So, this whole management paradigm, but the horses are the first step. We can do that immediately. President Trump could do an executive order. All those incarcerated American treasured horses are to be released. They're all sterilized, so they're not going to interfere with any. They're not going to breed or overpopulate. That's another myth. You put them out there in the deep wilderness, and these geldings, you can put pairs of 2 at a time, like on hills around you. They don't breed or anything. They're already gelded, so they're just big old boys. They just walk around and mow your lawn for free and trim your trees, and then they go under a tree and take a nap in their beautiful landscape. I mean, talk about the best yard art you could hope for.
Absolutely.
A treasured American. Yeah. And then in the deep wilderness, you do want breeding herds because there's predators, and predators control population. BLM lies through their teeth. Now, I'm not being hard on the BLM. These are facts, Mike. They published a document to the U.S. Congress in 2018, a plan for managing wild horses and burros. And on, I think it was paragraph 2 of page 1 of the executive summary, it said, wild horses have no natural predators. Now, that is an absolute lie. And whoever wrote that should go to prison, because that's also a crime. Using public tax money to write a felonious statement and then presenting it to the Congress people, that's a crime. Now, the thing is everything eats them, been eating them for 2 million years. That's just a fact. And they say because of that, because of the lie, they claim that herds double every 4 years in size. So if you have 100 horses in 4 years, it's 200 horses. So if you have 200 horses in 4 years, it's 800 or 400 horses, so forth. So I've been here studying my herd of 200 since 2012. Now, according to the BLM, I should have over 800 horses out here. I have 200 horses today. And the reason being is they're being eaten by mountain lions, bears, coyotes, and wolves. So I have a stable population because the predators are. Why are they overpopulating in the areas where the government's managing them? It's because they shot all their natural predators. So that they got livestock commingled with wild horses. Nixon didn't plan on that when he passed the act. President Nixon assigned 53 million acres for the horses, not for cattle and livestock, for the horses. It's in the 1971 Free Roaming Wild Horse Burro Protection Act. And I understand those in those big areas. There's a lot of areas with livestock grazing on BLM land now. The livestock guys don't want to have their calves and lambs and stuff eaten by predators. So the USDA hunters come in, and they're all shooters, right? And they just get rid of the predators. Well, you've just killed all the predators that normally control the horse population that's commingled. So what happens? They do the same thing the livestock do. They overpopulate. Well, livestock production is about overpopulation. So it's a man-caused problem. It's not the horse. It's a management problem. And what I say is, fine, guys, move the horses out of those areas and let's put them where they do some good for taxpayers. And it's a no-brainer, Mike. I can't believe these people aren't all over the top of it. The insurance industry is, as you can see.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the wilderness. I walked the Pacific Crest Trail, spent over 2,000 miles. And I saw all the burned land back there. It's disgusting. They're not doing any land management back there, just letting it burn. These horses would do incredible work back there and probably save that and make it, more people would like to go back there. And, the national park lands are all burned too. So we need this. Now, get into California, make it, work. Everybody can see it. How long will it take to, spread it to other states, and how many states could actually use this?
Well, I would start with, I'm just asking Siskiyou County to support me. And you mentioned Pacific Crest Trail. That is in the Six Rivers National Forest, by the way. That's a 1 million acre U.S. forest. And we already have MOUs with livestock guys to graze on the edges of it where there ain't too many big predators. So they're already on the very outside edges of that, using livestock to graze fuels. And that's sensible. But in the deep part, like where you're talking about, the burns, because there's no more deer and elk out there to speak of. I mean, they're really collapsed. We could put 1,000 horses there. We get them, and some people will argue with me, well, Bill, we don't have any law that lets us do that. Well, guess what? And if you ask the BLM, is there any way we can do Bill's plan and move horses into the wilderness? They, oh no, but right on their own website, if you Google BLM, Humane Transfer of Excess Animals Act, it's right on the BLM's website that any government agency can ask for horses through BLM, Humane Transfer of Excess Animals Act. And it'll bring up a page, and lo and behold, it's right on the BLM's own website. They'll never tell you it's there. They lie by omission too. That's another way they lie to the American people, is by omission. Yeah, I tell people, look, there is a law. It's a federal act. It says that any government authority, a city, a town, a county, a state, you go to the BLM and you say, hey, I need 500 horses and I need them for wildfire fuel management. They got to give them to you. Because under this act, Mike, what happens is you get the wild horse from the government, and that it's actually, you got to go to the BLM. You got to Google. That's it. That is it. But if you go to, I want to show how corrupt the BLM is. If you type in Google BLM, you type in BLM, Humane Transfer of Excess Animals Act, in your search window.
Yeah, see if I can get it back up here.
Go to,
So that's right.
there it is down there. See BLM? Yeah, that one. There you go. Click on that one. Nope, go down. Nope, right there. With the green logo, right there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's right at the BLM site.
And the burrows. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what that says. It says that any government authority can request animals and they got to give them to you. Well, when you get them under this act, their designation changes from wild horse to work animal. There's a change in title, another change in title, right? And under the exclusion clause the U.S. Forest has, they can do anything they want to do to prevent the forest from burning, including deploying work animals. Okay, so you get the horses and you drop them in 6 rivers in the boondocks out there. Nobody will see them again except for the hikers on PCT, and they'll help reduce those fires and the toxic smoke. And we save $150 million a year.
Easily.
We don't have to feed them in a jail cell anymore. And then they get to live wild and free. You know, their freedom is important too. I mean, this is America. Freedom is important to everybody. And the Lakota Nation considered the horses a nation of sentient beings. They call them the horse nation, the Lakota tribes.
Beautiful.
And because they respected them, it was a beautiful relationship that they had with those horses. And there's no reason why Americans can't have that relationship again, where the horses benefit humankind again, because they helped us build civilization around the whole world. So this is just, I don't understand what the pushback is. We have the law that lets us do it. We just get an MOU with the Forest Service that we're putting work animals. They're sterilized. They're not going to overpopulate. We got 70,000 of them that are sterilized. Drop them out there, start mowing the lawn, and they reseed it. And guess what that does? Remember all that burned land you saw, Mike, when you were hiking PCT? Well, guess what? When it rains in the winter, all the mud comes down the sides of them hills and covers all the fish eggs. All the salmon and steelhead come swimming up right in the fall in late summer to spawn. And then the winter rains come and covers the eggs. Guess what happens? All those eggs die. They suffocate. And then the fish are gone. And then everybody goes, oh, it must be the dams. No, wrong. It wasn't the dams. It was the fires. But nobody's out there. This is what I do for a living now. I'm 73. I'm supposed to be retired. I'm working 120 hours a week, trying to help people. I'm trying to save American lives, Mike.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Now we do have the youngsters now. You've had them up on your property. These 2 ladies from Sacramento State. So they're learning, from you, and that's what we need in the future. We need to get more people involved like this, and then, I mean, we have the right to start bringing these animals and start to place them, because it's already in the law. It's in the law, so it's an easy fix. We just have to get people educated so that we can start moving on it.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. And we're on our third year with the fellowship program. We've had quite a few students come through. Those were our first students right there. And they had an amazing experience up here. They went home and talked to people about what because they didn't know anything about, they didn't even know we had American wild horses left. And when they came up here and saw, you can tell how they're completely different than domestic horses. They were blown away. And it was
Yeah, let's play this little piece real quick.
Director of Wild Horse Fire Brigade. We're here at our research site in the mountains of the Siskiyou Cascades, and I'm here with the Sacramento, California State University of Sacramento students, Shelby and Cerise, and they're here, first students in our fellowship program, and this is their first day was yesterday. So I just had a couple of questions. So Shelby, maybe you can tell us what you hope to achieve with your fellowship.
I'm really excited to learn more about naturally living horses and how they interact with their environment, and excited to look at the population and start getting a better understanding of how they're living out here.
Right on. And so we had a pretty interesting first day yesterday. Maybe you could tell us about that, Cerise.
Yeah, yesterday we were able to take a little hike on one of our first trails, and right around the plateau, a big band of horses came running down, about, I don't know, over 15. They saw us and they had to change track, but that was pretty amazing to see them in action. And yeah, so beautiful.
Right on. Well, we really appreciate you choosing this fellowship program up here, and we're hoping to continue the program and educate people about the value of wild horses on our American landscape.
Boom. And you're doing it. You're doing it.
Yep.
It's amazing. So it does make a difference, educating people like you're doing right now. I've never heard of anything like this. To me, like you said, it's like so much common sense. It's like ridiculous. I can't believe that our BLM is not more involved with this. It's pretty disgusting, but it's typical of government. They're not for the people anymore. They're for themselves. So we need to change that and get involved. The only way we can change that is get involved.
Yeah, you're right. I was nominated to be on the National Wild Horse and Burro Advisory Board. They called me up. I got nominated by a sitting U.S. Congressman, Greg Walden. He was the head of the House Energy Commission. And I got letters from all these people, and they called me up and they wanted me to be on the advisory board. But that's when my wife was dying in a hospital up in Portland. So I was driving from my ranch 400 miles up to OHSU, where she was in the hospital room. So I'd spent a day at the ranch, keeping everything glued together, and 6 days at her bedside. And so I told him, I said, I can't take the position right now. My wife is more important right now, and I'm the last man standing for her. So, and I think that kind of made him angry. Because I turned down a job that everybody out there in the advocacy would want, and to have influence over the BLM. But I got to be loyal, God, family, and country. The bottom line is and then they don't like me criticizing them. But hey, I still believe this is a constitutional republic. And part of our civic duty as citizens is to criticize the civil servants. They work for us. We're not grapes to be squeezed. We're not grapes to be squeezed by them. They work for us, and they need to remember that when they get elected, they need to honor the oath. They serve us. And, so it's not government of the government, by the government, and for the government. That's not what it is. And they need to, that's got to get fixed. But in the meantime, if we all die from wildfire smoke, and it's killing people on the East Coast too. Those numbers I gave you, 36,000 dead every year and 218 billion a year. That's just the Western U.S. Wow. I didn't want to make it so complex that the supercomputer couldn't handle it, because even in Washington, D.C. and further down, even Florida got smoke out of Canada a couple of years ago. That smoke from Canada.
We sure did. Yep.
Yeah, and people died. What the reason it's dying is American Chemical Society just came out with a big report in December 2025, and they said that they've just discovered there's 21% more volatile organic compounds, VOCs. Everybody hates VOCs. Why? Because we know it kills people. VOCs are deadly. That's beyond the PM 2.5. So the bottom line is we're a lot of people are dying. We can fix this. We got to fix it. You know, my mom said, clean up your own bedroom before you worry about anybody else's bedroom. I believe that in our county. Let's fix our county first and our state, and then we'll worry about the rest of it. You know, we gotta start somewhere. And you know, it's all doable, Mike, and it's cash positive. I could save President Trump wants to save money.
Yeah.
President Trump, I can save you $5 billion a year. We can save a lot of those 36,000 people a year from dying. Okay. Not all of them, because, you know, we don't have enough horses to do the whole job yet, but we can make that first step to saving lives and saving a lot of that money. But this program will save $5 billion a year with a B.
It would probably make that much or more, actually, because I've been to, when I was on the trail, I saw where they had tree farms, and they were, you know, land managed, and the trees were like magnificent, nicely spaced, and they were making lots of money. You know, managing these trees were absolutely beautiful. It was one of probably the most beautiful places I walked through on the whole trail. Well, and one of the ones that was managed by an independent, you know, private group.
Right. Well, you hit on something really important, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up. They actually want to start a new crypto based on carbon forests. So during the fires last year, the Sliver fire, I look at whose land gets burned. I study fire ecology. There was a 5,000 acre forest that was owned by a big investment company in Portland that was selling carbon credits to investors to offset, carbon credits. And guess what? The whole forest burned to the ground. So can you imagine the reversal of fortune on that? They got to give back that money. They no longer have those carbon credits. It's like, you know, there's no basis anymore it's just became evaporated.
Not only give it back,
we can be an insurance.
Need to pay.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Well, we can protect those assets. You know, we could deploy groups of horses around the carbon forest, the carbon credit forest, and actually prevent those investments from going up in smoke.
Good point. Good point. And I'm sure, you know, just like we're talking about, those people want to, you know, keep their investment, and that would be the great way to do it. And the land management, of course, is, you know, doing the trees right and so forth. You probably, you know, harvest the trees at some point. That would be very profitable. And then the animals would come back, and, you know, you could, you know, hunters come back and, you know, pay a price to go in. There's places down in Texas where they, you know, pay a lot of money to go hunt. So there's a lot of positive things that can come out of that. So yeah, this is the step forward. We need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it's true. And I got grandkids. I want them to see the America that I enjoyed growing up. I don't want them to see the whole West burn to the ground. You know, we are burning forests faster than they're recovering. And at this rate, in just a mere 30 years, forests will be a thing of the past. You know, you drive through Dunsmuir, not far from you, and you look at that, you know, they're basically charcoal poles standing. I mean, you know, that was a gorgeous forest at one point, and that's what's happening in America. This
same around Lake Shasta. God, it got burned bad a couple of years ago.
Yeah. We just have to. I mean, you can't get AmeriCorps out there with weed eaters. I mean, we're talking 20 million acres in California, you know. And when you prescribe burn, here's the other thing, Mike. They're trying to sell us on prescribed burning now. Well, when you have prodigious fuel, I was going to tell you about pyrochemistry. When you have all this fuel that's not grazed anymore, it burns abnormally hot. Well, what it's doing is producing brand new chemistry. Okay. When you heat certain chemicals like terpenes, for instance, that are in plants, when you heat them at like 800, 900 degrees, normal forest temperature, forest fire temperature, you get certain resulting compounds. But when you start heating them up around 1500, we've seen molten aluminum, so we know the fires are that hot or more. You get brand new compounds formed. And these scientists are going, man, we don't even know what these things are. They're carcinogens. We know they're VOCs, and that's what the American Chemical Society, the brand new study from December of 2025 says. 21% more VOCs, and we don't even know they're in the class of carcinogens. So the thing is when you do prescribe burn on landscape with prodigious fuel, what happens? You make more toxic smoke. You're making the problem worse. And in the winter, when we need just a little, we get a breath of fresh air in the winter, right? Well, they're out there making more toxic smoke because you can't do burns on prodigious fuels. And even the RMPs, the range management plans for these big forests, they have a brand new RMP for the Cascade-Siskiyou National Monument. And they had to do that because Obama added a whole bunch of land. So they had to do a brand new range management plan. And in their own literature, they say all these different areas. Oh, we got to do understory fuel management, but we can't do prescribed burning until we do mechanical management to reduce the fuel load so it doesn't damage the landscape. It's in writing in their own plans that they can't even engage prescribed fire because it will damage the landscape because of exothermic energy. We've got to start managing the herbivory, and I mean everything. I mean cattle in the right spot, sheep in the right spot, goats around airports and industrial areas, but then horses in the remote areas where their predators live. And guess what that does? It pulls predators out of the ag lands. If you got enough horses on the other side of a hill where wolves are eating livestock and ranchers are like going, okay, and they put, deterrents on the wolves, they'll go eat the baby horses because it's easy pickings. Up here, I get 45, 50 babies every year. Only about 6 or 8 become 2-year-olds because the predators get them.
Yeah.
And then the big horses, the lions and the bears kill the big ones. And mountain lions could kill an adult horse easy.
Wow.
And they do. There's a study from the University of, in fact, Utah, that they looked at the mountain lions on the Great Basin. 60% of their diet is wild horses.
Huh.
So much for the BLMs, nothing eats them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the lies are so deep.
That's another reason I love to have the wild horses out there in the wild, because when I walked the trail, there was a mountain lion that was out there, and I think I had a close encounter with it. And then I got to the next town, and they talk about how there was this wild mountain lion and people had spotted it, and be careful out there. And I was like, ooh. So yeah, I'd rather them be than looking for me or other hikers. So, and that's sometimes what they do.
Yeah,
they take out.
They do. If you take all the food out of the refrigerator, they're going to find a meal somewhere else. And lately we've been seeing people being killed by lions here in California. A couple of brothers got attacked down by you. One brother died. The lion was feasting on him. The other brother was valiant. He tried to fight, but he was injured, and he had to barely escape with his own life. But his brother was killed by the lion.
Wow. Oh my God. That's sad. Wow, William, great intel, great information. It's, we did take down these bad government agencies or overcome them somehow and get those horses out there where they. Yeah.
Well, we need help, Mike. I mean, I'm working 120 hours. I don't get paid. We're an all volunteer nonprofit organization, Wild Horse Fire Brigade. I've been working my tail off for the last 12 years up here, Mike. If we don't get donations and support, we actually fund the whole Cal State program up here. We're on our 3rd year. We fund that out of our donations. Those kids, and a lot of them are underprivileged. We take care of gasoline and we buy food. They stay here 2 weeks with the herd. And we call it the good old method, because when you wake up with the horses and they're all around you, you get to see things that nobody has seen before. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's how Jane Goodall saw the apes making and using tools. She became part of the troop. She was embedded, right? Well, I became embedded with this herd, and I've already documented all kinds of things about what we got to do. And the thing is to make the program successful. Thank you, Mike. That's our PayPal account, and it makes it easy for people to donate. They just go to our website, hit donate. It brings that screen up, and they can donate using any credit card. But we're helping kids. We're funding the programs. Out of, we don't use any tax dollars for this. We let people decide if they want to support the reduction of deadly wildfire and toxic smoke, and help kids learn about American heritage. These are our heritage horses. We believe that the future generations of Americans should be able to see these special animals that help build our civilization in America. And our herd is unique because we have unique genetics that are still intact. Some of those gene lines came all the way down from Drake, not all of them, but some of them. There were some cavalry horses that got in and did a little breeding here and there, and we're culling those out with, we're doing genetic studies. So we're going to try to keep the genetics pure, and, yeah, if it wasn't for generosity of donors, we wouldn't be here today, we got to be successful. We got to do this, Mike. And I call upon people, if people will help us with a generous donation, we can make this happen and save probably at least thousands of lives a year, just initially, and billions of dollars for sure. So, and then cookie cutter it into other states, before the horses are all genetically sterilized, because the BLM is rounding them up.
Yeah, I'll definitely donate. Hopefully everybody's listening will donate and share the show, and we'll share it on my other platforms and get this out there. This is definitely a worthy cause. The government, like we talked about, is not working for us. It's working against us. We need to change that. We got to do it. So they're going to continue to do stupid until we tell them otherwise, and we got to get aggressive with it. This is one of the programs that actually works. It's very simple, very easy, and we can make it, start to make a difference out there. I look forward to seeing those horses out there.
I appreciate it, Mike, and I really appreciate your time and getting me in so quick on the show. It's been, you're an officer and a gentleman.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's a worthy cause, William. Thank you. You look a lot younger. You look like my age, 65. So good job.
No.
Staying young.
Well, I've been sharing breath with stallions. I don't know if it gives you extra life. With the wild stallions, they come up with the breath of God in them. They're God's creations, and they still commune with God on top of the mountain, I believe.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. All right, William, thanks so much, and we look forward to. I'd love to have you back on in the future, and we can talk a little bit more in detail. Hopefully, maybe I get out there and do some video with you out there, and you can show us around. And that'll be even better.
Love to have you and your sweetheart come up here, and we'll get a picture of you next to a wild mountain stallion that's breathing the breath of God. I mean, you'll feel it. You will, when these guys are nature's operators, boy, and they have a presence, boy. But anybody with me, they think they're with my family because they're family oriented, the way they look at the world. And somebody with me, they say, "Oh, Bill's got a new family member. Let's go meet him." And that's how they look at it. They're completely wild, but they know, that's how they look at the world. You can't evaluate horses using human value propositions. You have to learn how they look at the world. And that's what we've done. So that's why we can make this work. We know how to manage wild horses. Nobody else has done this. We're the only ones in the whole world that live with a wild herd and have done all this work.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, sir. Thanks so much. And like I said, we look forward to doing more with you in the future.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man, that was fantastic show with William. I hope you guys donate, because I'm going to make it a monthly donation. So we got to get this done and get this moving forward. So that there's a lot of stuff going on. The silver market, took a nosedive, and I don't say we suffered through it. We just have a better opportunity moving forward with silver at a lower price. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, everybody's focused on the sex part. There's a lot more going on with Jeffrey Epstein than just the sex part. All these guys do this sex thing. They have it on each other. They'll just dime each other out if they get out of line. That's all that is. There's a lot more involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and we're going to dive into that. So much more to go into. So don't leave yet. Let's talk about some amazing things. Your money, your wealth, so that you can donate to save the horses and have them manage the land so we don't die from smoke inhalation. Wow, unbelievable. Tens of thousands of people dying every year from that smoke inhalation. Boy, we're not hearing that, are we? Gosh, there's a lot of things we're not hearing. And one of those is, black budgets that's being stolen. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, let's look at what happened to the markets over the last week. They took a little dive. They worked off a little overbought situations that was going on, but we're in the point where we're oversold. So I'm going to show you what happens with oversold. So you look at the NASDAQ on Friday. You see throughout the week, it basically just went down, down, down. And then, and it was what was pushing it down was Bitcoin. Bitcoin was diving and the market wanted to go up, but Bitcoin was going down and it was dragging down the regular market. What happened on Thursday night and early Friday morning? Bitcoin turned around. So Bitcoin was dragging the market down. And when Bitcoin turned around aggressively and started going up, the market responded on Friday massively. So now we have a Dow Jones Industrial Average over 50,000. So this is the hourly. It gapped up. You know how I feel about gaps. Those gaps got to be filled at some point. But for now, it's basically, up. It gapped up. And you see that big candle there. That's a God candle. And it just went, oh, it went up big. And then it just kept going up all day long. So if you were long on the stock market during the time frame, good for you. I was short the stock market, for the week. I made nice money during the week, but I was short still on Friday morning, and I had to reverse that very quickly. Good thing I did, because the market went up massively, and I made nice money on that. Now, these are not things that I can tell you, because when I watch this, these markets can turn on a dime like they did on Friday morning. So I can't just come out and say, yeah, you need to be in this. Yeah, I'm intuitive. I kind of figured this was going to happen when I saw the market moving. But I can't come out and tell you guys this, because I will put you in jeopardy, right? So you have to do your own research. You have to do your own stuff. But this is a market right now that's going to, I believe, continue to go up. It will have some pullbacks, but it's going to continue to go up. Got massively oversold. There was a lot of fear. Whenever that happens, the market usually turns and goes up aggressively, like you're seeing right there. So the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P all went up all day long, right? So now Bitcoin also, as you see here, it fell. Now I think that's hourly. So Bitcoin trades, I'm gonna have to go for the daily, because Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day. All right, so yeah, now you get to see what that looked like all week. So that was a sea of red all week long. And then here it is on Friday morning. And it just went up and it kept going up. Now today, as you see, it's starting to reverse a little bit, starting to bleed off a little bit of that massive energy, where it went from down from 60 all the way up to 72. So it went down 10,000 and then it went back up 10,000, right? So that's some volatility. I can't tell you, get in, get out, because I have to be, in your ear all day long. So obviously that's not going to happen. But what can happen for you is silver. Now, silver, as you guys see, did, I don't know. So we have a God candle for when it's green, it goes up. So I guess this would be a devil candle, right? So the devil candle basically, hammered. That was just incredible. Probably never happened before in history for the silver price. But what I'm going to show you now, and for gold, all right, gold wasn't quite as volatile. As you see here, it's building a base and it's getting ready to take back off again. And what leads me to believe that that's going to happen? Well, let me show you. All right. So as you guys know, that I'm not only do I look at what's going on, what's driving the silver price, what's driving the gold price in the economy and so forth. Silver demand is through the roof. For the last 4 years, there's not been enough mined silver to meet the demand. So it's been reduced, right? So now it's getting reduced on a massive scale because everybody's waking up to it. We've been saying for years, it's time to get into silver. Now people are going, it's time to get into silver. So what do you think is going to happen? The demand, you think it's like funky town right now. It's going to get really funky town, going forward, because everybody's going to want it. All right, so let's look at the gold futures. As you see here, basically they drop down. This is the bubble report. I highly recommend this. I'm not going to always show this, but I'm gonna help promote his stuff because he's got really good technicals, right? Really good, and good commentary. So here it is. Basically, it's reaching this little zone right here, 43 to 4,600. And as you see here, it's getting ready to go above 5,000. Again, it's building a nice base right at 5,000. And it's going to go to new all-time highs. All right. Now, what leads me to believe this? As you see here, see that oversold condition? Now, look at this oversold condition. And the market went down because it was overbought. And then it went to oversold. And then look what happened. Whoop. Yeah, it went up bigly. All right. So over here, overbought, as you see right there. And then it went oversold. And then it went whoop, whoop, whoop. And then boom. Right. So every time it gets oversold, it really takes off. Right. And when it gets oversold aggressively, like it did here, it really moves. So imagine that is the move right there that is coming. All right. So that's 43 to about 55, 56. So we're probably going to see that and maybe even more going forward. So that's going to put us up around the 65, 66 level. So that'll be a very aggressive move in gold. And silver, same thing, 70, 80 support zone, as you see here. And as you see, it's building a base around 88, 90. So that $90 level, it's building a base to move up to 100. Now we need to build a base here at 100 because you see here, there's really not a lot of activity here. Like you see here and here and down here. All these are, where it bases out. It's like taking a board and you put it on a piling to make a pier, and you extend it out, and you don't put any support out there, and it ends up being like a springboard, and you go out to the end of it and you're going to sink. So if you keep building bases, you can keep extending that pier out and go, in this case, higher and higher and higher. So that's what we're doing here. So that's the technical aspect of that. Now look at this oversold. Oh my God. That is, I don't think we've ever had an oversold condition that deep. So what that means is the next move up for silver is going to probably take us to $250 to $300, guys, right? So that's what's coming, right? That's my prediction. It'll probably come by June. So it's going to continue to move up. Platinum, the same situation, a pretty significant, like you see here, dip well into the oversold, and then it boom. All right. So we did the same thing here. And this is, to me, this an even more aggressive oversold condition. So this move in platinum is probably going to take it, to 3,000 to 4,000 or more. We'll see. All right. So that's it for the market for precious metals. Now, other ones that I would like to, let me do the miners. So I was in a lot of different miners just to be, have my diversification. I like the junior miners. So I moved out of the miners, all of them, and this market turned down because I saw it coming. And I invested it into options, and the options did exceptionally well, like I thought they would. And so then I turned it over into my silver junior and got over 3 times as many ETFs, right? So ETF shares. So I got 3 times as many shares as I had before, and I had a lot. All right. So now I got a lot more. And it's just, learning how to move in and out of the markets. For me, I probably am not going to move around the markets like that anymore. I don't think that's going to come. That opportunity is going to come for a little bit. All right. I thought that could be the big one, but it didn't turn out to be. So we're probably going to see, like I keep saying, this market go a little bit higher, right? The stock market's going to go higher. Gold and silver and platinum and palladium are all going to go higher with it, a lot higher, right? So it's going to be a very good opportunity to increase your wealth and so forth. So the silver bull market, we're in the beginning stages of it. I know a lot of you guys, get very anxious because you think it's supposed to go up all the time. That's not the way markets work, right? So we got to pull back, and now we're going to see a very aggressive upswing. All right, that's my thoughts. I'm not an investment advisor, so but I've gotten a lot of things right. So just keep watching that. You crypto guys and gals, I guess they're going to pump that crypto back up because crypto goes down, the market goes down. I think they want that market to go up now. So we'll probably see crypto go up. But watch it. If it starts to tank again, like it's doing right now, starting to pull, I think it's just a little bit of a pullback after aggressively going up. If it does start to aggressively go down again, then you're going to have to get ready to, protect yourself. Right? So, and however that is, that's what that is for you. All right. So let's go into Jeffrey Epstein. All right. Everybody's like all excited about, all of the information that's coming out. It's like, oh, looky, who was fooling around with who and who did what, and these sexual perverts and, child molesting and pedophilia and blah, blah, blah. All right. So, and that's the way I think of it now, because there's much more to this. I've been talking about child pedophilia for friggin' over 5 years. And some people are just now catching on. Come on. And now that people are starting to catch on, it's time for something more. Right. And I'm going to show you what's more. Right. So there's a lot more. You know how all this money is being laundered by these Democrats and probably some Republicans as well in these cities? Where's all that money going? Where's all that money going? All right. To fund different things, to fund a rogue breakaway civilization. So we're going to watch Danny Jones had a podcast, and we're going to see Catherine Fitz basically tell us about $21 trillion black budget is funding a rogue breakaway civilization, which is making all these aircraft that everybody sees. And it's like, look, they're a UFO. No, that's a black budget aircraft, that the breakaway civilization has designed. And they have hundreds of deep underground military bases, on and on and on. So let's look at what Catherine Fitz has to say and on the Danny Jones show. She's been on a lot of shows lately. She's really giving a lot of this information out. So doing a great job.
Money started to going missing from the Treasury and the federal government. The offshore havens started to just balloon, so this is going down and this is going up. And anyway, but I have tried to unpack where the money's gone and what they've been spending on. And I have a lot of guesses, but
what's your best guess?
I think it's many different things. The first thing, I think you've been financing a new system. So I call it the breakaway civilization, but I think you've literally been financing a new system. And it's like when you're running a company and you keep the old systems going and you get the new systems up and you bring the resources over steadily. And then at some point
So we see billions, 90, 100, 120, whatever billion coming out of Minneapolis, right? Whatever that's going to be, whatever that number is going to be. And that's one state. We're going to see over $1 trillion coming out of California, probably $1 trillion coming out of New York, probably $1 trillion coming out of Chicago, Illinois. and other states, other blue states, because they're all on board. They're the ones that are managing this money steal. And this money steal is going into these black budget projects.
Ready to bring this down. And I used to say the pandemic was the breakaways breaking back in and taking over. But I think they've moved a lot of money out. And in theory, if you look at how much has been stolen, it's enough to run a global government on an endowment basis. It is.
How much roughly total has been stolen?
So as of two.
All right. So as everyone is focused on the sexual manipulations of Jeffrey Epstein and all the other people that have been doing all this stuff for a long time, Hugh Hefner and who's the one guy, the black rapper or whatever. So all these guys have been doing this for a while, and they don't bat an eye at going to jail or whatever. They know they're going to be taken care of, guys, because of this breakaway civilization. They'll go to jail for 5, 10, 15, 20 decades, whatever, because they know they're going to be taken care of in the jail and then when they get out. So they're going to get hooked up on the outside on a massive. So this is not stopping. We're not really doing much by revealing that Prince Andrew had sex with underage, probably several women, all right, girls. All right, everybody's focused on that, and his life's destroyed. But he's like, yes, Lucifer, destroy my life so that everybody else can move on and we can continue the breakaway civilization and keep stealing from the useful idiots. Right. So this is something that is much bigger, guys.
2015, there was 21 trillion in undocumentable adjustments, but that's not cash. And it could reflect money coming in. So you could be bringing money in from the war zone. So how much is net missing? It's impossible to tell. But given everything, I would be amazed if it wasn't at least that much missing. So.
All right. You see, Danny Jones is like, what? And, for me, having seen this, seeing the budgets in the CIA, seeing the budgets in, these black projects that I've seeing the money that's going into, these wars that go on for decades and decades in the Middle East, and the trillions of dollars that go into these wars that basically gets funneled out into this rogue breakaway civilization.
Now, what I think you've been doing is you've been making enormous investments in black budget technology and infrastructure. So, so I think you've got a huge physical infrastructure. Some of it, when you did 9/11, you were able to move a lot more black budget on budget. And so that sort of eased the pain, because the problem with the black budget as of 9/11 was to get that money, you had to tell, the fraud had gotten so dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, we've heard these stories about these deep underground military bases, DUMBs, that are being destroyed, and the human trafficking that's involved in those being, taken down. And yes, I believe that's happening on a certain basis, but that's a distraction too, guys. The number of bases they have are staggering, and we're gonna find out here in a minute.
And wasteful. So you wanted to do more on budget, but whether it's building a new governance system and a new endowment to run it, or invisible weaponry, secret space program, the infrastructure underground to
invisible weaponry. You mean like the Klingon ships where they cloak themselves? Yeah.
Platform that. I think it's all those things.
One of the theories that has been bouncing around in my head from recent guests that I've had on is that military contractors have been taking money from the US government and from the Pentagon to develop futuristic weaponry, develop new physics, alternative propulsion,
Absolutely.
crafts that have some sort of alternative propulsion
absolutely.
systems.
Absolutely. I've seen it. Yes, it's being done. Now, I remember when I was deeply involved with it, I did step away for several years, and I came back, and because I would like be deployed, do something for like 6 months and come back, and the level of the new technology that was there waiting for us to start to use and work with was like another major step forward, guys. Every 6 months, sometimes less. So I've been out of that system for well over a decade now. And I can tell you the stuff that's out there when I was there was like beyond belief, right? Beyond belief. And I know there's other people that were involved in other projects that were, the secret space program stuff. I have memories of that. I've talked about that, but their budgets are being funded by this fraud that's going on in these cities, by the taxation that's stolen from us. All of these things are funding this breakaway rogue civilization, right? All right, so let's look at Jeffrey Epstein, because he was part of that. He helped fund a lot of that. So he was a financier of these black budget projects for things like COVID, bioweaponry, the high technology stuff, working with the negative aliens. All of this stuff is part of their program, guys, and we're not part of it. We're not part of it at all. We don't benefit from it virtually at all, but we damn sure pay for most of it, right?
So that starts Rockefeller University, formed by John D. Rockefeller to sort of give back to the community. It's east side of Manhattan, except it was old. It was sort of old-fashioned. They were talking about medicine.
Right? So this was an interview that he did with Steve Bannon many, many years ago, right? When he was, I guess, still free. But he, look at the guy. Listen to the guy. If you didn't know his background, if you didn't know his past, and he was introduced to you as a financier of big budget projects that help humanity, all right, you would be impressed, and you would listen to him, because all of these guys, all of them, they can compartmentalize. They can show you a certain face, and I've seen a lot of them over my years. I've been around a lot of these people, guys, not Jeffrey Epstein, but yes, I've seen Hillary Clinton. Yes, I've seen a lot of people that I know now and knew back then were very bad people. All right. So you see them. I remember seeing Bill Clinton. I was right next to Bill Clinton in a security detail. And he was talking, and he was very charming, handsome guy. I was like, guy seems like a nice guy, but I knew that he was bad. But they will present a certain face to you, and they have many faces. Some of them are very dark. Some of them are very dangerous, right? And sometimes you see them shift. You see their reptilian side, right? So look at him, listen to him. He just sounds like, just some dude, but we know this guy is a very bad man, but he managed a lot of stuff. He was a financier, like a mafia guy, and truly pretty much is, that came in and funded many different projects. Now, everybody's like, oh, he was all in charge of Jeffrey Epstein Island, blah, 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 right? They all do that. They all do that. All of them, right? They'll tell you otherwise until they get caught, and then they'll deny until they go to jail, and then they'll be sorrowful. But until then, they'll deny, they'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, because that's part of what they do to us, because we're useful idiots and we don't matter. We don't matter to them. They have an agenda. They're Luciferians and some Satanists, all right, who are very dark. But this guy right here is a Luciferian. And so is Clinton's. And all of those guys at the top, they're Luciferians guys. And it's for me, it's not a tough pill to swallow. I can talk about it very easily, very comfortably, because I've seen it most of my life. I've seen these people. I know how they are.
And medicine by itself was, again, subject to the ideas of science. They were trying to use science to find cures for disease. And I said, no, we need to do something different. We need to start interdisciplinary work.
How did a schmuck like you get on the board of Rockefeller? What year was that?
I don't remember. I think 89 and 91.
So that's one of the most prestigious research places in the world, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how did a guy like you get on the board of a blue blood, internationally known, hard research, Nobel Prize winners all over the place? How do they pick a guy like you, a trader from, or basically some guy from Bear Stearns?
Good question. So I was asked to be on the board of Rockefeller, and I think I was on the board of Rockefeller. There was a money manager who said Rockefeller needs someone with financial expertise because the university is growing.
All right. So he's an expert in his field, moving money, all right? Moving money that has probably, for the most part, been stolen. So he moves this money around and he makes it work so that these guys can take this stolen, laundered money, however it is, and do the projects they want. Do the COVID, imagine all the money that was spent beforehand, years and years and years of developing, right? And then they started to do their, whatever 2021. And they had that one meeting and they're pretty much showing us what's coming because that's what they have to do. Because like Craig Lund said, he's in the technology field. He was very experienced, very good, and they used him. He used his energy just like they used Jeffrey Epstein's energy for their ends. They're all involved in their, satanic and Luciferian, craft, and they need people to do the things that they need them to do, right? Because they're out there doing their sacrifices and whatever the hell else they do, adrenochrome, whatever. And they need people like Jeffrey Epstein to run the business side of things, and they trust them and they bring them in, develop them, and then they do that side of things. They have many people that do that, right? Many people that will go to the parties and, have all the, eyes wide shut type stuff. And it's all fun and games until, they see a baby tortured and killed and adrenochromed and eaten. And then they're like, oh, I'm out. And then, no, you don't leave. You don't leave, right? We will hunt you. We will destroy you. And gosh, I was in the CIA and they destroyed my life and hunted me. It's like, any aspect of this system that you expose, and they will come for you. They will come for you. And, this is some of the things that a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't live very long exposing this stuff because they have all the money, all the power, and control everybody virtually, right? So this is where we need to start to understand this on a bigger picture, right? it's not like, there's a little sex scheme going on and they use that to control people. No, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's much, much bigger.
And there's lots of new things. You have to, again, we go back to the original discussion the last time. Up until the mid 80s or sort of mid 70s, the most important thing was your name. If you were Rockefeller, you already were considered to be brilliant. If you were head of General Motors, it was your reputation. It was who you knew, who your family was, what was your character. And then in the mid 70s, basically, if you remember, you probably had a calculator. It was very advanced in those days to have a Texas.
So it just seems like just a, very smart guy. And, but he's running the finances for the most brutal people on the planet. Extremely brutal, right? Psychopaths, right? He works with psychopaths, and he is one, right? So the facade that you're seeing right there is a facade that any one of them can put forward. They're trained like that from children, how to have all these little compartments where they have all these different players in these compartments, and whichever one they need for whatever situation they're in, that comes out, right? That comes out. And that's what you just saw there with Jeffrey Epstein, right? So there's another compartment of him basically raping underage girls, right? So we know that's part of what he was about. And that's what they all do. They all do that. Now, he talked about the Santa Fe Institute. The Santa Fe Institute, let me show the screen. Santa Fe Institute is an independent, he was financing it. So he talked about it, and it's in Santa Fe Institute. It's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is very key. New Mexico. There's a lot of things going on in New Mexico, right? Now, we know that Jeffrey Epstein had a ranch in New Mexico that had over 1,000 acres on it. Now, there's all kinds of things that are going on in New Mexico, and I'm just going to start bringing them all out to your attention, because we got the full gamut of stuff going on in New Mexico, right? I spent a lot of time in New Mexico when I was in the military in White Sands. There's underground bases in New Mexico, maglev trains. They dissect aliens, all kinds of stuff under New Mexico, right? So we're going to go into a little bit of that, but right here, he helped fund the Santa Fe Institute, and they have basically breakaway, scientists that are involved in a lot of probably bad things. All right. So they broke away, and they have fundamental principles of complex adaptive systems, including physical, computational, biological, and social systems. Social systems like Facebook. Social systems like the old, or what is it now? X, right? The old Twitter, the little bird, the mockingbird, right? So they've had these systems, and they control these systems. And is Musk one of them? Yes, right? Of course he is. But is he seemingly on the good guy side right now? Yes, right? But he is definitely one of them. The billionaires don't make it up there, guys, with all the other billionaires that are bad, unless they allow it, right? So something is given, something is taken, but that's the way these guys get up to that level, right? So, and I know what you're thinking. Even President Trump, right? Yeah, whatever. So let's look at Zorro Ranch. There's a lot of stuff out there on that. So you have to be your own judge. Now I'm looking at things. President Trump does get things done, and then some things he doesn't get done, right? We've seen some things that he's done. We haven't seen a lot of arrests. Remember, he came in office, he was going to drain the swamp. The swamp has still not been drained. He said that when he came into office this time that he would stop the Russia-Ukraine war on day one. It's still going on. And his last, time before he came into office, he said that when he came into office, the guy that basically helped us find Osama bin Laden, the doctor, Afridi, he would have him freed within 2 days. Dr. Afridi is still in jail. We have, other issues that are going on. We have up to 25,000 people that probably have been killed in Iran right now. And they thought that, President Trump was going to come and help them. Right. So, and maybe he will, I don't know, but how many more are going to die? I don't know, guys. But there seems to be some disconnect there with President Trump, his team, whoever's controlling him, whoever put him in power. He is not a lone wolf that can make things happen. There's obviously a group behind him that supports him, guides him, and so forth. Tina Peters is another great example, right? So we have, Tina Peters, he pardoned her. He demanded that she be released in Colorado, like the Pakistani government, a terrorist country. And we have a Colorado, which is basically acting like a terrorist state and keeping, Tina Peters in jail after she's been pardoned. The first time in history that a president has pardoned someone and they've been kept in prison. First time. And President Trump does nothing, right? So there's some things that aren't getting done that should be done. So you be the judge, right? I'm just pointing stuff out. All right, so Epstein staffer makes sickening admission about 2 girls buried near his ranch. 2? Really? Just 2? All right, so I think there's probably lots of bodies out there. So his Zorro Ranch, like Zorro, the sword, the guy with the mask on his eyes, and he had the sword, Zorro. He made a Z, and I always liked to watch him. He was good. I like swords. Right, so anyway, so this was a huge ranch. It was roughly 7,500 to 7,560 acres. Oh my God. That's like all of Lake Tahoe and then some. That's insane. Wow. So who funded that? Who paid for that? Did he pay for that with all the money he made when he was an investment banker? I don't know. It seems pretty suspect to me, but I think somebody else is probably funding this stuff. And as we'll find out, records show that former Governor Richardson of New Mexico met with Epstein for years. All right. So more and more people are going to come out that were involved. And it's going to be very interesting. So New Mexico, as I said, is a very, very suspect place. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, I guess, was involved in a company that had bioweapon labs in Ukraine. Now, remember when Tulsi Gabbard, broke away from the Democrat Party and then claimed that there were bioweapon labs, that the U.S. had bioweapon labs in Ukraine, and we had Mitt Romney, senator from Utah, who said that she was a traitor and should be executed. And then the U.S. military said, yeah, we got like 34 bioweapon labs in Ukraine. So what do we give all that money to Ukrainians for, to fight for? So they keep that land, so we keep those bioweapon labs. Now, if those bioweapon labs are not able to stay there, because Trump is trying to negotiate this war, to stop this war, so I guess we can keep the bioweapon labs there. I don't know. But I've heard that if those bioweapon labs don't live in Ukraine, that the Russians, which I hope they do, take all of Ukraine and drive the Nazis out and shut down all of those bioweapon labs, they're going to come to New Mexico. That's what I'm hearing. All right. So we got a lot of acreage there in that Zorro ranch. So they could put a lot of bioweapon labs there and hide them. They got underground facilities, all kind of crazy stuff, guys. So let's look at that time when there was a subterranean battle with aliens in New Mexico, where 60 people died. Right, special forces guys. They battled aliens in a tunnel system they were building in New Mexico. There you go. So Dulce, New Mexico is located right on the Colorado-New Mexico border. It's a quaint town with a population just under 3,000. It's a tribal headquarters of the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. I like the Apache. I'm probably butchering that name, but the Apache Reservation. Dulce, New Mexico is located right on blah, blah, blah. All right. And it's tribal, blah, blah, blah. All right. So Philip Schneider, and we're going to listen to him in a second here, an explosive engineer who worked for the U.S. government with high-level security clearance, claimed that in 1979 he participated in the building of a secret underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. It was there that a horrific battle played out, leaving 60 humans dead and countless subterranean aliens fighting for their lives. Right. So this is a nuclear-powered tunneling system right here. U.S. Air Force. U.S. Air Force, don't they fly planes? What are they doing tunneling? Right. So very, very, very strange stuff, right? All right. So let's listen to what Schneider has to say about that underground war. Have a little clip, and we're going to pull that up and listen. If you haven't listened to this yet, this is a wowzer. All right. So he basically lost fingers. So I don't know if he shows them here, but I've seen in another video where he had his fingers blasted off in this war with the aliens. And like I said, like you have special forces guys, the best of the best down there fighting, and 60 of them die fighting aliens. You don't hear this in textbooks or in schools, do you? Nope. But it happened. All right. So let's listen.
The alien thing is more than just what I'd call a non-visible threat. We on the surface, first of all information dealing with alien or alien reproduced technology or alien reproduced vehicles or any other kinds of things, well hidden from the American public. Our black budget, for instance.
I know what you're saying. I can hear you. What does this have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Remember, Jeffrey Epstein is a financier. All right. There's another strange thing. I didn't have time to pull it up, but I know of this. Catholic priest in New Mexico, close to this Zorro ranch. Massive pedophilia. They like took down a lot of these priests in the New Mexico area. So this is definitely a problem. Now, these things have to be funded, these underground military bases, these DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And Jeffrey Epstein is a money laundering expert. And so he's based with a ranch in New Mexico.
Garners $1.023 trillion every 2 years.
All right. So he's talking about, this is way back. I don't know what year this was. What year was this? The 90s, something like that. Maybe 80s, 70s, whatever it was. But he's talking about $1 trillion back then. And that would be like, I don't know, trillion would be like, I don't know, 50 trillion now. I don't know what it is, but that's 21 trillion, right? 21 trillion. Going once, going twice, sold to the highest bidder. All right, so we have a lot of money, again, that's being laundered. Is 21 trillion yearly, or is 21 trillion over a period of time? So he's talking about $1 trillion for these bases right now. Now listen to the number.
It's over $500 billion a year. right now, there are 131 active deep underground military bases in the United States.
Now, again, this was decades ago that he's talking. Maybe they built a lot more since then. I would think so. All right. Maybe some of them have been destroyed to, maybe the good guys really are destroying them. I don't know. What do you think? Doubtful.
1,477 of them worldwide. Each one.
All right. So 1,477 of them worldwide, just here in, I guess, U.S. So 1,400 of them all around the world. Jesus. That means a lot of these countries are robbing their people and building these underground military bases, this alternate civilization.
Has an average cost of $17 to $19 billion. Each one is built in the site. It used to be it'd take a year to 2 years to build each one, and now they're capable of building a couple of them a year with sophisticated methods. My colleague Al Bielek has actually been on some of the high-speed railways, the magneto-leviton trains that connect all the deep underground military bases within the United States. He's been on a Mach 2 train and floats off of a single rail at a 3/4 of an inch off the rail, and is what you'd call high tech. We have nothing like this on the surface. The public basically has been totally lied to. We're considered stupid or even moronic in some cases. It's got to stop. If we're going to gain our country back, we must, and I repeat, must we must instill in our public officials, anybody that goes and does public service, they must tell us the truth. Groom Lake is where the infamous Area 51, S4, S2, a CIA base. It was originally a bombing range, a nuclear test site. It was later become the most secret base in the United States. It employs over 18,000 workers who work in shifts of 12 hours at a whack. Most of them work in the cover of darkness, like us. We built 9 underground military bases there, each with an average capacity capable of basically a city underground, roughly 4.25 cubic miles hollowed out underground. They have boring machines, for instance. They don't bore. They literally vitrify and melt the rock, deflagrate the rock. It's a very sophisticated laser melting and deflagrating system. Die. However, in the process, one of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish, and burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot. Burnt the shoe right off of me. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me that risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the bass and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted. He lost his life. 66 Secret Service agents, Green Berets, Black Berets, crack troops lost their lives because the government, our United States government, lied, did not tell us anything about the alien threat. There's a war underneath there, and I'm talking dead serious. It's been going on since that time.
All right. So, yeah. So crazy. I mean, you can look at it. A lot of people have and just dismissed it, but I believe absolutely it happened. I've talked to other people when they were still alive. All right, so a lot of people have died that had any kind of connection with that or talked about that, but that is something that really happened, right? And you know, I don't. It's like not a lot of people watching, so maybe I just burnt people out, you know, going down this road, but rabbit hole. But we're going to continue. I don't know. Maybe some people will pick it up. So Holman maglev train on the surface. It is a thing. So they tested it, Holman high-speed test track, as you guys see here. This is in Mexico. So United States Department of Defense, Air Force, Aerospace Ground Test Facility located at Holloman Air Force Base in South Central New Mexico. New Mexico, New Mexico, New Mexico. So all of these different things that are going on there. Jeffrey Epstein there. Remember they did the nuclear test there, right? The nuclear site, Alamogordo, New Mexico, the Trinity site, where they did the first bomb test, uranium-based nuclear bomb was there in New Mexico, Alamogordo. All right, so remember they were like, you know, looking through special glasses, and they had blast-proof windows, and I guess a lot of those guys, you know, have not done well, and they've passed. But the ones that are living, if there's any of them still living, or they're finally getting, you know, compensation. I was involved in, you know, helping expose the burn pits and, you know, Agent Orange and the nuclear test sites like that. Some of them where they would explode nukes, and then they would send in troops right afterwards. Just like cannon fodder, like sheep. And then a lot of those guys died, and they couldn't get compensation because it was a top secret event, and so it wasn't on the books. So the guys are trying to get, you know, after they left the service, they're coming down with all kind of problems from, you know, going into this nuclear bomb site right after it blew. And they weren't able to have the, you know, Veterans Administration help them because there's not on the record. So with the latest, you know, burn pits, and they finally started helping those guys, right? So I had those guys on that were promoting that, and they got Congress to promote it, and they got people in the press like myself to promote it, and eventually got passed. And so finally, those guys are being compensated now. So it's crazy. So Roswell, of course, the Roswell alien crash site. You got Area 51, all in New Mexico, all in New Mexico. So lots of stuff going on in New Mexico, right? Lots of stuff that a guy with Jeffrey Epstein's background capability could help fund. And who knows who's doing the funding now. Jeffrey Epstein is not dead, right? Absolutely not dead. I said that right from day one. Some people thought they were really cute to say that he didn't kill himself, that somebody came and killed him. No, the bigger picture is he's not dead. Now, this is Meg Moonbeam. Occasionally, you know, I come across her work. She does a great job. She's got high integrity, and I like her work. She's a great astrologist. So she talks about, I was like looking for stuff, you know, to share with you guys, and I came across this. So Meg Moonbeam basically breaks down Epstein's astrology, and let's listen to what she's got to say for a little bit.
The links in the description box below. So it's kind of crazy because this latest Epstein file drop, it's kind of feeling like Pizzagate all over again. Okay, before we even get into the chart, shout out to all my fellow conspiracy theorists, conspiracy baddies out there, okay? Not that anybody.
Yeah, us conspiracy baddies, we should get compensated. So we've risked everything and with not much compensation for it. So, that's great. We don't really do it for the compensation. We do it to try and help humanity. That's why all of us are doing this. She goes into, like I'm telling you right now, there's a lot more to this Epstein thing. And when I was seeing what she had on the astrology side, she went down a rabbit hole like I'm taking you guys. And I'd already planned my show. And then I just happened to run across hers, which sometimes happens with intuitive people. They pick up on other intuitive stuff. And here we go. So we'll listen to her. I won't interrupt anymore.
It's better if they've been into conspiracies for a long time. But for me personally, I've been into this stuff for a really long time. And I can remember back in 2016, my best friend, Sunny, who's a fellow Scorpio to me, Sunny from Pluto, we were totally tripped out when Pizzagate got released. And most people were not open to it. They thought it was totally crazy. There weren't as many people awake as there are now. And interesting that there's like this 10-year later divide or cycle where now we're 10 years later, beginning of 2026, and there's been this Epstein file drop that is basically affirming that Pizzagate was real, going onto a whole other level of the darkness and the shadiness of what has gone on in the Epstein files. Very interesting stuff. We've just had 3 million documents released from this latest drop that just happened this past week, beginning of February 2026. And this past drop has been revealing further how much of a evil mastermind Jeffrey Epstein really is. This new drop shows that he was plotting with Bill Gates to create a pandemic, be a part of COVID. He was a part of the transgender revolution, as per emails with a Harvard scientist. He might have invented Bitcoin, possibly. And
so, and the Harvard thing comes up again. So Harvard, President Trump has been hard on Harvard, right? So, we just had the who is it? The director of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth, has said that he's gonna, like cut ties with Harvard too. The Secretary of War, Department of War, is going to cut ties with Harvard. What ties? So there's lots of reveals that are starting to come through, and we're literally scratching the surface of how deep this goes. So I'm showing you just in New Mexico alone, just how deep that rabbit hole can go.
Been a part of Q 4chan somehow. There were emails between him and the creative 4chan. Also, he was plotting to ruin Trump. That's not even everything. There is a lot. So this is why I'm feeling to do a series on this subject, because there is so much to unpack here. And this is important. This is extremely important because this is exposing the dark cult that has been in control of the planet. And we are only going to move forward as a society into this new golden age of Aquarius, great awakening time, if we can face the shadows of what's been really going on here. And this whole Jeffrey Epstein piece, it's a very big part of it. This is not going to go away. I'll tell you guys that right now. This is not something that is going to be able to be hidden forever. And I'm specifically talking about the redacted names in the files. We will, I believe, astrologically, get a list eventually of exact names. I'm going to get very interesting. What strikes me right away when I look at Epstein's chart is he is a 0-degree Aquarius sun. Okay, now 0 degrees in Nicola Stoyanovic's degree theory is the strongest degree. It is the strongest expression of that placement, right? Now, Jeffrey evil, mad scientist, possibly, mastermind, evil genius. Okay, some of you guys might not like me saying that, but he is, I think, a genius, Aquarius, to be able to have pulled off everything that he pulled off, got all this blackmail on so many different powerful people, to be managing multiple locations that he lived in. Yes, I do think he is controlled rather, by a greater force, and he is a puppet. But, he actually acted out all those things and possibly even experiments. Maybe David Icke, I can't remember, but lots of different clips where she talks about there was weird shit going down. There, not just trafficking of minors, not just abuse, not just blackmail, not just all these really dark things. She talks about, she believes there was even cloning going on.
Boom. So, yes, Meg Moonbeam. So outstanding breakdown. I highly recommend her work. And this, I listened to the whole thing. It's very insightful. She dives nice and deep into it. So I highly recommend it. So yeah, we're going to continue to see more of this stuff. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a lot of people are like, I can handle it. Give it all up. You're going to find out. All right. So it's coming hot and heavy. And some of the stuff you're going to be like, whoa, hello. Yeah. And that's going to be that way for a little while now. So so I've been focusing on New Mexico and how biolabs are probably going to come there. And we also have Arizona State University. So right next door, there's lots of land in Arizona. So they have in Arizona State, ASU, they have a Biodesign Institute. The latest research in security. Our nation faces threats on many fronts, including digital and biological. Biodesign is stepping in to help us and ultimately the world stay more secure. Biodesign, you guys are involved in biodesign? Why, yes. Biodesign sounds a lot like developing bioweapons. Epstein files reveal deeper ties to scientists than previously thought. So the Institute of Technology in Cambridge, which led, he gave $800,000 to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and led to 2 scientists having to resign. For now, they'll probably come in the back door and continue their work, but for now they've resigned. Or they've moved on to someplace else and they're doing the same thing. So it's kind of the way that works. Look here and over here. We're going to put them back over here. So the files also show that Epstein maintained a list of nearly 30 top scientists. Now, does this sound like, he's maintaining these lists to, oh, come on down, have a good time. We'll take you out to the island and we'll have a lot of nice girls. And so I don't think so. So as we're seeing, like I'm saying, Epstein was involved in much, much more. And what this does, it exposes much more of the deep state, right? How Ukraine appears in the latest Epstein files. So the files link to the late financier. So what do you think? Do you think Zelensky's involved? Oh, you know he is, right? So the files linked to late financier, convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein, include email conversation with at least 2 modeling agencies in Ukraine, and 2 of the top, the capital, Kyiv and Odessa. So modeling agencies, and of course, like we talked about, they have the bioweapons laboratories. We already see that he's involved with scientists, all right? So, and Harvard, and a lot of other things, guys. Larry Summers, also involved with Lawrence Henry Summers, American economist. He served as the 71st United States Secretary of the Treasury from 1999 to 2001. Sounds like the Bush years. As the 27th president of Harvard University from 2001 to 2006, and as the 8th director of the National Economic Council from 2009 to 2010. So Larry Summers also, who was, I guess, on some kind of board at Harvard, has had to step down as well. All right, amidst the Epstein reveals. Deeply ashamed, he says. Larry Summers steps away from public life after, being revealed to have been on the Epstein email list. How many more are going to go down? All they're doing is just stepping away. They're gonna step away and do the same thing, guys. They're gonna step away, and it's like everybody's like, "Oh, he stepped away. It's okay. He's punished himself." I think so. They need a lot more. How Jeffrey Epstein got his hooks into cheap, they call him cheap, Bill Gates. Now, if you saw my show that I did just recently with Craig Lund, we talked. I asked him, because he's got this prediction. He predicted the Trump shooting. He predicted the shooting with who's that one couple that was doing the movies, and he was like what's his name? Can't think of his name. Anyway, he just recently died with his wife, and his son killed him in that very exclusive area of California. So anyway, there's a lot of people that died in that area, and cheap Bill Gates. I've been thinking, there's a lot of negative things coming out on Bill Gates. So Craig Lund has said that, and then there's going to be a third one. And the third one will be Reiner. So I'm hearing it from the wifey, from Rob Reiner. All right. So Rob Reiner and his wife killed by the son. Supposedly, I don't think the son killed him, but maybe he did. I think he was ritually sacrificed. And maybe the son was part of that. So anyway, there's a lot of people get stabbed there in that area. So it's pretty crazy. So how Jeffrey Epstein got his hooks into cheap Bill Gates, whom he accused of sleeping with prostitutes. And now his ex-wife is like calling him out, and he's not looking good. They're like, I think he's going to be the next guy to go. And so it's going to be somebody in the tech area. That's what Craig Lund has said. And it's going to be like a 3. So we had 1 shot for President Trump, 2 for the Reiners, and then it'll be 3 for Bill Gates. So will Bill Gates' ex show up and with somebody else, and he kills them all in himself or something? I don't know. But I was thinking that it was going to be Bill Gates, and so did Craig Lund. So we'll see. So let's look at maybe a few other things. One other thing, and then I have to go. All right. So there's demonstrations, Minneapolis, Portland, and Los Angeles. ICE protest ongoing right now. So I'm just going to give you what was showing, what they were doing today. A little piece of it. So they're keeping up with the protest, and who knows, how much longer this is going to continue, this craziness. So go home, Nazis. Yes, you protesters, you Nazis, go home. So because that's really what it is. It's crazy. And, it's crazy world out there. And, the Epstein files is just part of, exposing the deep state. There's a lot more to be exposed. We're just getting started. So don't get wrapped up, like I said, in the sexual part. Yes, that's a bad thing. But there's a lot more. There's the bioweaponry, there's the scientists, developing within the United States something else, and the, breakaway civilization that they're funding for trillions and trillions of dollars under our feet that we're paying for. So there's, it's crazy. And, just like they were fighting those aliens underground, we're going to be fighting them on the surface. I think we already are. I think some of these people are basically just hybrid reptilians. Yep. And so we'll see. Aliens, yes, lots of aliens. All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time.